Sunrise. My name is Alexander Christian, and this is a segment I am calling Why It Works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be reading a scene, and then I'm going to kind of break that scene down and explain why that scene works. We'll be reading from Saber, Chapter 3. So here's the setup. At this point, Saber has forced Raymond to take him to a location where he has hidden something that is of great value to him, and he wants to retrieve it. But a small village of nomads have built a little shanty town where he buried his treasure. So he has to remove them in order to reclaim his prize. But what I chose to do here was I tried to break this scene down into individual senses. So at some point, we're only dealing with light. At some point, we're only dealing with sound. At some point, we're only dealing with smell. And I think this scene worked out very well, and that's why we're going to be using it as my first example. So they're in the desert. It's twilight. The sun is setting. There's a campfire. There's a group of men sitting around a campfire, and this is all kind of told from Raymond's point of view, and from where Raymond stands, he pretty much can only see silhouettes. So we'll be starting right here. You can follow along if you like. There we go. The pale light made a dream of the world, a hazy caricature of life. The beautiful more beautiful, the terrible gruesome. Humanoid shadows found their feet, weapons extended from their distorted limbs. The mob moved, zigzagging figures merging and unmerging, becoming something more than human and something much less. So what we have now is just a collection of silhouettes that are moving around each other, and at some points you can tell they are human, and at other points they merge into these ghastly, beastly silhouettes because there's so many shadows overlapping. All right. Blackened shafts reached for the dark that was Saber, turned away by armor that had never known its better. Clawed paws swung through the gloom, and where they flew, one shadow became two. The sound, a carnivore feasting. Then came the beast. So we kind of get an introduction into the beginning of the battle and how it's going down, and then it turns out that the nomads have pets with them, like wolves, dogs, as early humans did. But at this point, we move from visuals into audio cues. Lunges and snarls penetrated the symphony of battle sounds, adding a savage cacophony to the composition, birthing an aria as Saber's voice rose above it all, a cappella uncounting the spears. That is a complicated turn of phrase. So the aria is the composition of multiple pieces of independent music all being played together, hence the symphony of battle sounds. And when they said that Saber's voice rises above it all, a cappella uncounting the spears would be the only instruments of war, weapons. But if you don't count those instruments, then it's all just voices, hence it would be a cappella. This is really just the author entertaining himself at this point. All of this is purple prose and completely unnecessary. Enter stage left. From the buildings came some, from the sands came more, and from over the dunes came manifold. Black shapes shiny upon the crests and peaks of extremities, indiscreet all the places in between, swarmed the intruder. Raymond began to smile, his problem having neatly worked itself out, the luck of the wicked holding true, it seemed. Then the dragon proved his claim. So just as Raymond is about to celebrate his kidnapper being overpowered, it turns out that's not how it's going to happen. Oh, I gotta bring it up more so you can see it. Here we go. All right. Flame fired in a fierce and fine fettle, a rose with petals of hell and hate as red as the night was black. In that blaze, even shadows died. Raymond watched as roaring lights crescendo ended the battle hymn, as the crackle of sand becoming glass slithered and whispered vibrato beneath the forte, giving birth to the score of the nightmare that would plague the Black Blade for many moons to come. We crammed a lot into there. We got alliteration in there. We got some metaphors. We got some similes. We got a lot of image painting. And this is really just to set the tone. And once again, purple prose, not at all necessary. But this is this author's style. And finally, Raymond abandons hope. And he prayed, Shifa, save me. And what we're doing at this point is we're equating Shifa with a force of nature, some sort of God, something that is above and beyond the fray, something that no matter what trouble you get into, you can call on, and he's your Deus Ex Machina, right? He's your way out. Saber emerged unfazed from the flames, carrying presumably that which drew him here. Once he was separate from the crunching sand and dancing flames, Raymond could see clearly the dragon's cause, the most sinister-looking blade ever devised. It was as tall as any man, 6 feet of gleaming white steel by his reckoning, curved like a saber with 4 huge serrated points, and the end recurved like a scythe. This blade wanted blood. Saber presented his prize to Raymond. This is Andiron. Now I am unstoppable. Raymond found it hard to disagree. This is a rather ambitious passage. This is the author really just playing with the language, really just saying how many different ways he can bring texture and life to what is essentially a fight between silhouettes and distance where the observer can't clearly see what's going on. But Raymond being a cultured individual, everything he equates it to is somewhat highbrow. He equates it to an orchestra. He equates it to a symphony. Words like philharmonic, which basically is an orchestra of 50 people or more, he uses instead of simply using numbers to describe how many people are involved in this battle. I love this scene. I think the scene works really well as far as the author just showing his command of the language. It is absolutely unnecessary. It is over the top. This is purple prose at its finest. But I like that. This scene ends pretty much as abruptly as it starts, because the point was simply to acquire the thing, and once you acquired the thing, we've achieved our goal for the scene. So anything else after this point would really kind of draw away from the staccato, the stop and go, the very sharp focus of each step of Saber's plan. I didn't want anything in this story that lingered, anything in this story that kind of dragged along. We cut out everything that's not essential for you understanding what the people are doing, what their motivations are, and what the obstacles to those motivations are. So, speaking as someone who reads this scene, who enjoys this scene, and someone who conceived and wrote this scene, I think this scene is pretty awesome. Anyway, if you have a scene that you'd like me to read and break down and deconstruct, send it to me. As soon as I learn how to put in like graphics and stuff, there'll be like stuff at the bottom or at the top or at the left or at the right. This is harder than it looks, trust me. Yeah. So until I start getting suggestions from viewers, we're just gonna have to read my stuff, and I'm okay with that. So thank you for tuning in. Till next time.